Should be live now. What's up, Apple Sheep and Tailosive Tech fans everywhere? Trying a different format just because the Elgato doesn't seem to want to work correctly. Maybe it's something wrong with the cables, I'm not sure. But taking it easy today, taking a little bit of a break. There wasn't a video yesterday just because life got busy, and sometimes you need some time to yourself. I think everyone needs that here and there. Doing 2 vids a day was a little bit tricky, but I thought live streams, excuse me, aren't that difficult. Hey, from Norway, Quinn, Charles, TNT Boy, Fab TBC, King Abel, Jeff Paul, how's it all going today? What's up? We got people coming in. We're still using this new built-in, Safari doesn't have it because Google, but Chrome has it. It's this little built-in in-browser live streaming app, and I figured iMac Pro has a pretty decent webcam. Microphone's not that bad. Yeah, I'm just if you subscribe to Talks, you know I did a video about how things are a little busy and a little pushed for time, so I'm trying to just trying to relax a little bit. But I figured live streams aren't that difficult anyway, so I could at least do this today. I slept in today, which was nice. So yeah, I'm just trying to take it easy for a little bit, recoup myself so that I can be normal Drew, be normal excited Apple Sheep back as soon as possible. And there hopefully should be a video tomorrow, if not today, but most likely tomorrow. Likely about the Pixel 3. Hope you get more subs. Thank you, me too. Removable HomePod cord. Yes, it is indeed removable, and I removed it for the video. It's very annoyingly difficult though. You have to like very aggressively just grab onto the to the HomePod cable, pull as hard as you can, and it almost feels wrong because it feels like you're breaking it. I think it's definitely something Apple was intending for you to not remove, but they want to remove it if they have to. So all they really did is made sure the HomePod cord was very, very hard to remove. That way, Apple Store employees, if they need to replace a broken cord, you don't want to destroy the whole HomePod. So the employees know what to do, but they're probably not going to tell any of their customers how to remove it. So luckily, 9 to 5 Mac did a video on it first, so now we know that it is removable, but wouldn't recommend it. I thought about maybe changing the white HomePod cord with the space gray one just to show that you can remove it, just a little contrast. I don't know. It's kind of annoying though. You have to, even getting the cord back in is very difficult, so wouldn't recommend it. HomePod's doing great. I love listening to music on it all the time. It's almost kind of shocking in a way because I think I bring up the fact that the HomePod's way, way smaller than the Home Max, and maybe you don't really think about that, but I think that might be something you don't think about before you buy a product, but you really think about it afterwards. The fact that sitting this HomePod, which is just off camera, right here on the desk, and having it just have plenty of room on the desk, doesn't take up much room, and yet when I say for Siri to play something loud and for Siri to actually play some music, even if it's not loud, even at a moderate volume, it's very, very satisfying to have something that can play audio at that good a quality and not have to take up a giant amount of space. Because, you know, I've had this desk for a while. It's a pretty big desk. You know, it's 5 feet wide or so. But I wouldn't put the Home Max on it. That was never even a thought because of just how ridiculously large that is. Putting that even in portrait mode up on the desk would be silly. It would just not complement my setup well. It would look awkward. I would almost look at it as a hazard, like someone might tip that over. Whereas HomePod, you don't really think about tipping that over. It's very firm where it is. It doesn't take up much space and yet is able to produce a whole bunch of sound. So I think size is something unappreciated when it comes to talking about smart speakers. I know they're not mobile, so you know the weight of the HomePod doesn't make a big difference. But we got a first super chat here from Patter, who says, "Happy Valentine's Day." I guess it's a day earlier for you. By the way, first time watching a stream when you were streaming, so dab. Okay, you get one in there. I dab a lot. If you want more dabbing, it's on Tailosive Talks. But it's just too comically perfect when you do something really stupid and insignificant to dab because it just tops it off perfectly, and I'm going to keep doing it until there's something better to do. And so far, I haven't found a new trend. So, yeah, it's not Valentine's Day here, but I'm hoping to spend it tomorrow with my girlfriend. So that's the plan. Hello, Drew. I'm a YouTube content creator, and I have to say I'm enjoying your videos. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Review the best. Appreciate it. It's a simple little speaker and all wireless. Yes, that's the HomePod. What are your thoughts on iOS 12? There's weird. I've never heard of iOS leaks before. I never hear about like this is what's rumored to happen in the next iOS, but now there is, and everyone keeps saying that iOS 11, I mean 12, is going to be all about software optimization and making things reliable and not actually adding features, which I disagree with. Um, I don't. I honestly don't think that's what's happening. I don't think that. I know there's been bugs and there's been like it's pronounced PETA. Sorry about that. PETA. Got it. Um, I've heard certain theories about that, but I don't think that the bugs or the glitches in iOS 11 are so bad that you can make an entire operating system dedicated to reliability. That won't work in several ways. For one, no one's going to be excited to update if there's not new and exciting features to update. And you can't get people excited. You know, you can't hold a keynote that's just all about iOS 11 is awful, so we're going to fix it. They don't do that. That's not the kind of keynote Apple would hold. Secondly, all operating systems have glitches. All operating systems have bugs. I've seen people who get lots of glitches and bugs who like to intentionally jailbreak or bug their phone quite often. And I think that in return can have some bad karma if you keep trying to find all the bugs and you keep trying to go to every corner of the phone to try to find out where the bugs are. Of course, if you're going on certain websites and looking for lists of bugs, then yeah, you're going to find them all. But as someone who uses iOS 11 both on my iPad and iPhone every single day, they're not that bad. I don't experience a ton of bugs. In fact, I can't even recall one from memory. Maybe the lock screen once. I think my flashlight and camera 3D button widgets at the bottom here didn't show up once. That's about it, to be honest. I can't think of a ton. So my point is, secondly, if this is true and they are focused on making iOS 12 and all about reliability, it's all about being optimized and having less bugs. If that's the case, then as soon as there's a single bug, which there will be, there's always bugs and glitches on any operating system. This always happens. I remember when iOS 10 dropped and everyone was freaking out about those glitches and, oh, it's so unreliable. And I think it might have been 8 or 9. When iOS 9 dropped, I believe the first official iOS 9 update didn't let you use cellular data. It was a major, major glitch, and they had to roll out an update for that immediately. But again, this is completely normal, and I'm not sure. Maybe it's just the atmosphere of leaks we're in now that anyone will say anything to get attention via leaks or via rumors. So I think they're just saying, oh, they're not going to actually do any features they were planning on doing. So I don't know. But anyway, Hayden has a super chat here that says Apple Watch or AirPods. Now, Apple Watch is way more expensive. So I'd say that if your battle is more about price range, I think AirPods can change your tech ecosystem very easily because they work with an unlimited amount of things because they are Bluetooth. Whereas the Apple Watch is an excellent accessory to the iPhone, and that's it. But it does, like I've noticed, make quite a big difference on your tech ecosystem. I've been using mine and loving it so far. Very, very effective in making me a more healthier person, making sure I get up earlier. You know, if you are constantly scared that you're going to not close your rings, then it's kind of a good motivator to stay active and to not lay around all day. In my line of work, that's a big problem I have to worry about. But if I had to choose between one of them, maybe I'm not a good example, but I would say Apple Watch just because I use that every day regardless. Whereas because I have a HomePod now, iMac Pro speakers also are really, really loud. I have my own office space. I'm probably a bad representative, but I use my Apple Watch way more than my AirPods, but it also costs a lot more. But yeah, there's less and less reason for me to wear headphones just because I have speakers all over the place and I have built-in speakers that are pretty good. Like I was just watching a video on my phone for about an hour and I was listening to it on phone speakers. iPhone 10 speakers are not bad. Same with my iPad Pro, really good speakers on that. A MacBook Pro has great speakers. So using AirPods is less and less common. I do wear them when I go on walks or on runs, but that's not as much as I use my watch anyway. So Answer is both. Get both if you can. I'd say just get the watch first, maybe. Just because the Apple Watch just was refreshed, whereas AirPods are about to be refreshed. So if you can spare a little bit of time before you buy your next pair of AirPods, just go ahead and get the Series 3 now. It's not about to be refreshed. I don't watch any sports. No, sorry, Shane. I've all my life been kind of a little bit different from most of my friends. I don't watch sports, and I don't of any kind, whether it's basketball, football. So I've never cared about the Super Bowl. And second, I'm not much of a gamer. That's the biggest difference I have between me and all of my friends, is that I never was much of a gaming guy. Do you have friends? Barely, but yeah, a couple. Are you getting MKBHD merch? I haven't checked them out. I watched his video. I thought that was kind of weird. I usually think merch is something that you just happen to bring up at the end of a video, but he reviewed he reviewed his whole merch lineup in a video. I've never seen that before. They look nice. They look really good, but I don't know. I'm not. I have merch myself. In case you didn't know, I don't do whole videos on the merch, but and my merch probably isn't as good as his because I don't get to make exclusive partnerships with cotton companies and stuff like that. Ours is all through Spreadshirt. I don't think Spreadshirt's ever. Well, they contacted me once and gave me 2 free T-shirts. I don't get my T-shirts for free. I have to pay the same price you guys do. It's not. I don't get any discounts. But the text ones that say MKBHD established 2008, I think they look kind of basic in my opinion. But that's just me. I'm not a fashion expert. Most people probably would prefer his logo over my logo to begin with. So it's not. I'm probably not in any position to review his merch, but I don't buy much merch. In fact, I'd probably buy more Tailosive merch before I buy Marquez's because I I don't buy clothes very much. I'm usually wearing clothes I've worn for 5 years, and most of them are hand-me-downs. So yeah, I'm feeling a little better. I shave occasionally, yeah, but this is mostly how it grows. It doesn't grow this thick on these sides. This is what not shaving for about 2 weeks looks like for me. So, let's see. Was it good or bad that Steve Jobs died? Obviously bad. It's awful. He died pretty young. Not super young like childhood, but he wasn't super old. I believe he was in his 50s. And I think he's the same age as my uncle, who's an engineer in the LA area. He works on rail guns, which is kind of cool. But I always kind of remembered Steve Jobs' age because he was my uncle's age. And I would have been very curious to see where he wanted Apple to go. But honestly, I don't think it would have been much different than what we're seeing today. I think the people working at Apple were the majority of what Apple does about how Apple designs products and where they decide to invest in things was not heavily decided on Steve Jobs at the end of his life. Obviously, at the beginning of Apple, he was more instrumental. I think that in his later years, the company was so big that you can't attribute all success to one CEO, one person. Like SpaceX is really cool, Tesla is really cool, but I think sometimes we attribute too much of SpaceX's success and the Falcon Heavy launch and that amazing rocket that was amazing. Attribute all that to Elon Musk. Of course, he founded it, so he is to thank that this is all here. But keep in mind that it is not done by one man. This is done by hundreds of thousands of engineers and people working together, and it's a collaborative effort. And I don't want aspiring astronomers or astronauts out there to think that, well, Elon Musk was just smart and that's how all this happened. It's like he learned how to work with people. He learned how to collaborate and get the effective. What is the definition again? My dad always told me one thing. The definition of a good leader is someone who can get the willing, optimistic support of others. And that's something Elon's really good at, is getting people together to work. It's not one guy, it's lots of people. Corbin Rigby says, hey, Drew, love the vids a lot. I want to get a HomePod, especially after watching all the reviews, but I originally wanted to get a Nintendo Switch. What would you recommend? I trust your opinion. Oh, no. Corbin, you're asking the wrong guy. HomePod versus Switch. Well, yeah, keep that in mind. See, the chat's already starting to help you with that. The Nintendo Switch is not a single purchase. I would say the HomePod, if you have Apple Music, it's a single purchase. But Apple Music's, if you haven't done it yet, it's free for 3 months. And then this smart speaker that sounds amazing, that's ultra portable, will play any song you can think of for the next 3 months for free, and then afterwards it's only $10 a month. If you're a student, $5 a month. It's such a good deal. Whereas the Switch doesn't come with games, doesn't come with a lot of storage in it. I thought it was 64 gigs, and I was playing with one on Tailosive Talks, and then everyone corrected me. It's 32, but you can put a micro SD. So there's a lot of just stuff you have to buy otherwise. I don't think the Switch is $350 though. I think that went down since the last time I checked. So you could probably get a Switch for cheaper, but then you're going to spend $60 on all of the games you want to buy for it. And unless you want to pay, so like if a Switch is $300 new, maybe let's say the Switch is $280 used or whatever. Maybe you can get a deal on one. Let's just say it's $250 or something. 2 games and you're already the price of a HomePod. That's one thing I'm not a fan of about the Switch, is that the games are pretty expensive on it. I'm not a Nintendo fan, so the issue with that debate is just I think that people buy consoles not because of the hardware, they buy it because of the exclusives, whether that be the community, the people on Xbox. If your friend has an Xbox, it's likely you'll want an Xbox too, so you can talk with them, or the games, which is the fact that, you know, if you like Halo, you buy the Xbox. If you like The Last of Us, you buy the PlayStation. If you like Nintendo games, very exclusive, you buy the Switch. So if you're into Nintendo games, you probably like the Switch. I am not. I'm much more into Apple stuff. And the HomePod is amazing. So I would 100% go HomePod, but that's me. I'm probably a very bad example of who to ask because, first of all, I don't own a Switch. I've used a Switch, and I've not been impressed with it. So will you ever be a Google fan? Yeah, I'm not like completely biased against them. Like I said, if I have respect for companies and I have admiration for companies that are not Apple. Like I have massive respect and massive amazement for Samsung for what they're able to crank out. I don't think they make the best stuff, but the Galaxy S8, the Note 8, really, really cool phones. And Samsung's usually the innovator when it comes to features. In implementing new technologies and making them modern. Google, I wouldn't say, is good at that. So that's why I'm not impressed with Google. So if they were able to make phones, Pixel phones, that could rival that of the Galaxy phones, which I don't believe they do. I don't follow the whole stock Android exclusives argument, because none of the stock Android experiences, I think, are worth sacrificing not having a decent build or having modern features. They don't do that, but if they would, yeah, of course, there's most likely a chance that one day I will look at Pixel phones and think they're good. But Google has to actually do it. the reason I'm not impressed by them is just because of what they've produced, which has been unimpressive in my mind. I'm more surprised that most YouTubers think it's good. I'm confused as to why I feel like the minority. I feel like everyone should be hating on the Pixel. But everyone's fine with it. Everyone on YouTube seems to love it, and that's their choice. Everyone see Marquez's "What's on My Pixel" video, where like he's like, "This is my flagship phone. This is where I go to," and then he just keeps listing all of the glitches and the issues it's having, and I'm like, do you like do you like your phone, Marquez? Because I don't have that many complaints about my phone. And he just kept going and kept saying all of the problems it had and all these apps that don't work. And I was like, okay. Would you like to see a brand new OS in a phone? That's a good question. I'd say it has to be very, very, whoever's designing it has to be very, very careful about it. They have to be very easy about, you know, developing a new app market. And I'm not talking about a glorified skin like, you know, Oxygen OS or the Samsung skins they put on Android. I'm just talking about actual brand new operating system, which I think is not impossible. I just think whoever's doing it has to have a lot of money, a lot of power, because you have to contact countless developers to try to get them to port your app over to their OS. My point is, it can be done, but only by the right people. I don't think some startup company should just like, yeah, we've never made phones before, but, you know, why not? Let's just make our own OS. That won't work. It will not succeed. You need a giant one, maybe like Amazon or maybe Samsung. Samsung could probably figure it out, but they'd lose a lot of their customers. I don't think they will, but I'm just saying they probably could if they wanted to. Should we do a vote on Drew should do a video every day or a video every day on one uh, on one channel and then possibly do a live stream. No, I'm sadly, I'm not going to leave up the consistency of videos up to the fans, because maybe if some of you do prefer a video every other day, that would still mean I make a lot, excuse me, I make a lot less. You know, it's still a job that you got to put the hours in. So imagine if you were working a full-time job and then your boss finally said, you know what, actually just come in half as many days. Your income would be a lot less. So sadly, I can't do that. But Kevin, Super Chatted says, what video other than 2X are you most proud of, and which are you embarrassed of? Also, what skills as a video maker are you hoping to improve in the future? Your commitment to Tailosive is inspiring. Thank you, Kevin. You don't have to say other than 2X, by the way. Project 2X was not my most proud video. That was more of I'm proud of what I've accomplished at this studio, not necessarily I'm proud of that video itself. In fact, the color temperature of that video was quite off, and I was still getting used to the Blackmagic camera. But ironically, in all my years of making movies, the video I'm most proud of is a short film over on the main channel, Tailosive, called it was the peak of the first phase of the TCU, which was Justice Man versus Volunteer Cop. It's very silly. It took a lot of work. It took a lot of editing. I made it all on that computer, which could barely handle it. But that project I'm still the most proud of, because what I accomplished on screen was almost exactly to that of what I wrote down in the script. So I was very, very satisfied with that. It's not a excellently shot or excellently made movie, but I'm still just, it took a lot of work, and I'm very proud of that. And not very many people have seen it at all. Hey, Drew, do you think I should get the HomePod when it comes out in Sweden, even though I have a Sonos Play 1? By the way, I use Apple Music and Spotify. I think you should. I've tried the Sonos Play at Best Buy, and they sound good, but they're nowhere near as good as a HomePod. And if you use Apple Music, it's awesome. I love it. I know someone who's going to college and wants a MacBook. Do you think the MacBook is worth $300 more than the MacBook Air for someone on a budget? I'd recommend, well, you know, you're not, most people aren't starting college right now. Most people are halfway through. I'd say wait it out until this summer. There's likely to be some new MacBooks refreshed. And it's very possible that the Air will be discontinued, but I recommend not getting an Air and getting more of a 12-inch MacBook / cheap MacBook Pro kind of lineup, just because the longevity of that will last a lot longer, and you can adapt to USB-C. And as you're moving into a wireless future, it'd be better to adapt to that sooner rather than later. Anyway, Sean super chatted and says, any idea of when AirPlay 2 is going to be available, so I know when to start saving up for my second HomePod? There's currently no idea. It's just later this year. They didn't even say this summer or this fall or anything. All they've said about, I think, AirPlay 2 and stereo pairing mode is that it's on the way. So yeah, no idea. I would hope this summer, because there's most likely going to be WWDC 18, which is when they update all of their phones with new operating systems and new software enhancements. So I'm guessing that they would throw in the HomePod firmware update with that as well. But I'm not, again, we have no idea. Yeah. I've seen your recent vlog. Have you considered involving family or others into your business, like combining the two somehow? I'd like to hear other opinions in your defending or explaining. Family doesn't really mix well with my work. I'd say it's been a lot busy recently, because including my own, and I won't say when, but there's a lot of birthdays in the family right now. So trying to make time for all of that on top of my work and on top of still trying to see my girlfriend fairly regularly was just tricky. But involving them with the business usually doesn't go well, just because I'm very, how would you say, unique in my family, as in there's not a ton of people in my family that talk tech like I do, or are Apple sheep like I am. It's just best to keep those two things separate. What do you think about Unbox Therapy if you count Lou as an Android user, but if you don't count Lou as an Android user, but just as a YouTuber? It doesn't matter what phone he uses, but he seems pretty cool. I'm not subscribed to him for the same reason I'm not subscribed to most tech channels you may have heard of. I'm really only subscribed to two. But what I find an issue in most tech videos is YouTubers not going in depth enough on a topic, which is what I like to do. When we're talking about removing a headphone jack, or we're talking about portless, or we're talking about HomePods. I love to really, really dive deep into those ideas and elaborate on those things. I love debates of any kind. It's not just tech. I just like interesting discussions. But I'd say with Unbox Therapy, that's the common issue I run into, is it's very surface level. It's very just like, the reason he's the biggest tech YouTuber, by the way, which he's responded to me on Twitter before. The reason he's so popular, I think, is because he caters to the most common YouTube tech viewers, people who are interested in tech and go on YouTube. I think very quickly would watch him and just be like, yeah, iPhone 10 is too expensive. OnePlus 5T is really cheap and better. Therefore, 5T you should buy. You should never buy an iPhone 10. So it's just very surface level to me. I wish Unbox Therapy could explain a bit on more topics, because to me, whenever I watch him, I'm always like, can you think about that? Think about what you're saying and how some of that doesn't really make sense with DAC audio and LGV30. He seems a common issue I have with most tech YouTubers is sometimes I think they go a little bit over the top on they go a little bit over the top on sponsors, where it almost feels like every other day they're posting a sponsored video, or every video has a sponsor in them. That's fine. It's a business tactic. It works. You get paid. You promote products. That's fine. But it just gets a little annoying to me. Maybe I'm used to watching YouTubers that don't do sponsorships, but sometimes I think there's a proper balance. You can have sponsors. I'm not against sponsors. I'm just saying there's a better way to do it. Emerald Film super chatted and said, "Did you donate to Everything Apple Pro's friend Open Heart Surgery?" Yes, I heard about that. I haven't donated yet, but no, I was thinking about doing that. Thanks for letting everyone know. If you don't watch Everything Apple Pro, guys, keep in mind the guy who does most of the 3D concept art for Everything Apple Pro's videos, like the iPhone 10 Plus and the iPad Pro 10 or whatever. The guy who animates all those things is having heart issues, and you can donate to help pay for those medical bills. So please check that out. And yeah, I think I will be donating. I watched that video yesterday, I believe. Yeah, it was really sad to hear that, because he does do really good work. It's really impressive. Just your random kid, super chat. It says, thoughts on the new S9 videos released by Samsung, and do you think Samsung will add stereo speakers to the S9? Love your videos, by the way. So sorry, I actually didn't know Samsung released videos about the S9. I haven't seen those, so I apologize. But I do think the S9 will have the stereo speaker mode, because I saw the back of a Galaxy S9 box, and usually Samsung, like a couple months before the unveiling of a product, they'll just literally leak everything. All the S8 pictures, all of the boxes are just like, oh, there's everything. We can see it all before it comes out. They usually don't care about a month before release. So the back of the box, I believe, had a stereo speakers icon under the features list. So I was pretty sure that, yeah, they'll likely do the same trick that iPhones have, where the earpiece at the top is actually just a overpowered speaker, and that can be loud from both sides. So that's likely what they're going to do. Yeah. When did your love for Apple start, and what product made you love Apple? You can look this up on the Tailosive Tech podcast, and one of them, my dad and I did a tech podcast together, and I've basically been a fan, been using Apple products as long as I've been alive. The family, before I was born, was using Macintoshes. That's why we have old Macintoshes in the back. Those were the family computers. For a long time, when growing up, I only knew about Macs. I just thought that was technology. I didn't realize there were Windows machines. And growing up and going to friends' houses, I realized there were PCs. And I remember thinking, oh, PCs are cheap. Let me see if my parents will let us get a PC. And they would sit me down and explain that, like, well, they wouldn't sit me down. They would basically, in a one-sentence answer, just say, we get Macs because they're reliable. We know how to use Macs. If you get a PC, it'll break in a couple weeks. So from a very young start, I've always been an Apple fan. I can't tell you what computer first made me an Apple sheep. I would just say it runs in the family. I can say that was the first computer I ever bought. I always liked the look of them. I always know how to use them. And then I've since then bought PCs, and I've bought I've used lots of Windows 10 machines, and I actually, when I bought my PC, it was still Windows 7. That was before Windows 10 was out. And then I bought lots of Android phones as well, and have used those, and have tried to look at everything neutrally, but always end up going back to Apple. So then I decided, why try to lie? Why try to act like everyone's different and they're not? One's not better than the other. They just all have different strengths. I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go all in. I'm just gonna keep saying whatever I'm thinking, which is what I'm doing. I'm just being honest. Rather use only Android plus Mac OS or only iOS plus Windows 10. Ignore Apple Watch and stuff. It's kind of hard to. I'd say iOS just because I probably would use that more. Windows 10 is very annoying, but I would rather keep my phone than my computer if I had to choose. If you had the opportunity to open a tech company using current resources, how would you manage it? Or if you had resources of Dell or HP, assuming you make all tech products, laptops, phones, etc. Yeah, I've designed my own concepts, and not just for hardware, but for software as well. If I was designing my own operating system and how that would work, I've messed around with all that. And if I was ever in a position in which I had that power, I would know exactly how to do it. But what I would know is that if you're a startup tech company or you're running a new company or whatever you're doing, you cannot enter the market until you have something, especially the smartphone industry. That's the key to everything, is making sure you get your smartphone right, because while you can't do just a smartphone, if you don't get the smartphone right, nothing else will work. And my efforts would be to make a tech company that has a tech ecosystem that can rival that of Apple. This is not an easy feat. This is not something any startup could do. In fact, I wouldn't even try to do it. I would, even if I had the money and I had the resources, I wouldn't try to turn a profit until I was sure that the hardware we were producing could rival that of Apple or the other competitors on the market. I'd be aiming to steal consumers both from Android and Apple. That would be the efforts. And keep in mind that people are comfortable with what they have, because I'm an Apple sheep. I understand that. Getting someone to switch out of their ecosystem and switch out of what they know means that you have to be better than the competition in every other way, and then beat them on price. And then people will start thinking about it. I just know that if you are just a random startup company and you feel like, I think we should just make a phone. If Tailosive right now had the money to do like what the Essential phone has done and just make a brand new phone company, and the only difference is it's just, it's probably running Android just so we can reach to people, and we put a skin on it and it's got the Tailosive logo on the back, therefore it's a Tailosive phone, it wouldn't sell. My company would die, because just making a phone that's pretty good, that may be lacking on a couple features that flagships have, but it's cheaper, it's a budget friendly, and maybe it has a couple unique features about it. It's built of titanium and stuff like that. You can't beat the competition based on having a couple of extra quirks. Getting customers to switch over means that you have to beat them in every single category. It's got to have a better camera. It's got to have a better build. It's got to have a better display. It's got to be cheaper. Got to have a better storage option. Got to be faster. And I know all that seems like, well, Drew, of course, like if you could do all that, then of course you would win. But that's my point, is that you can't attempt to win just hoping people happen to buy your phone, which is, I feel like, what Essential was kind of doing. They were just like, well, we're not better than the competition, but we're pretty good, right? Our phones are pretty good. And that's why they've only had like 88,000 sales. It's not good. What's that monitor over your right shoulder? Looks awesome. It's very standard. It's a 27-inch Asus 1080p monitor. I've had that for years and years. I bought that when I got my PC back in the day, which I don't have anymore. Yeah, I'll get the 10 Plus when that comes out. I prefer that form factor. I'm ready for a larger phone again. Would you rather use an iPhone 10 with Face ID like now, or would you rather have an iPhone with an in-display fingerprint sensor, with the fact that both have the same security level? Omar, you're asking the wrong guy. I have psoriasis. It's a skin disease, and that means my fingerprints are always changing. Even when I had an 8 and a 7 and a 6, Touch ID never worked because my fingers. So easily, I would always take Face ID over Touch ID because Touch ID never worked for me. Anyway. Would you buy refurbished? Yeah, I've bought refurbished products in the past, especially if they're from Apple. They feel brand new. It doesn't even feel like they were used at some point. So I'm not planning on buying any MKBHD merch. No, sorry. I I would probably more likely buy Tailosive merch, but I don't buy a lot of clothes. How much do you think the base level iPhone 10 Plus will cost? My guess is 1,200, but I'm gonna anticipate that it'll be 14 and then hope for the best. It's gonna be crazy expensive, I know, but I'm gonna do it because I prefer that, and this is my job now, is to review all these things. If you had normal human fingers, would you still take Face ID? Yeah, I think that Face ID can be perfected over time. Like I like that. See, right now my iPhone 10 is right off camera. It's resting on this wireless charger that's mounted. So it sits here. It's Baseus, Baseus Qi charger, and works in landscape and portrait. It has a coil, so I can charge this way as well. But it basically sits here on my desk like this, and Face ID is pointed directly at my face, which means that whenever I feel like it and I need to check my phone and I'm sitting at my desk, I just tap the screen, and since Face ID is looking at me, it unlocks. So I don't have to rest thumbprint on Touch ID sensor, which takes longer, and you have to make sure you get it exactly right, whereas Face ID, just tap, unlocks. It's much, much easier. If Apple made a mini HomePod with a cheaper price, what do you think we would look like? I don't know what you guys would look like, but yeah, I would be interested to see Apple try to make a more budget-friendly version of the HomePod that's smaller. It probably would not be in the price point of a Home Mini. I think that's uber cheap, and Apple likely wouldn't do that. But they'd likely make something that's maybe in the $100 to $150 price range, and maybe about a half the size of the HomePod, and it would likely sound okay. But yeah, I could see that happening. I would like to see that. And if it looked like it, it would probably look just like a HomePod, honestly, just a smaller one. I think that's a design approach that works, and changing it would be unnecessary. So I'm saying the primary HomePod should remain $350. That's fine, but I'm just saying that they could make a smaller one if they wanted more people to buy into it. If you're buying, sometimes you want to buy smart speakers that you just put in the room so you can talk to it. You're not necessarily planning on listening to music on it constantly. You just want it for, occasional telling Siri to turn lights on and stuff. And in that instance, you don't want to spend $350 on something that you're barely going to listen to. Maybe you want some smaller ones that just are Siri. I guess that's what the Apple Watch is for. Yeah, Apple should make everything. I don't care if it's washing machines or smart home appliances. They should make anything they want. Yeah. You think no? There's no more iPod Touches. Sorry. Do you think it was a good idea to combine text and iMessage into one app? It was a genius idea. You know how many people say that they won't leave Apple because of iMessage? I bet Android really wishes they would have thought of that back when they first started. If they would have created an iMessage alternative that combines your SMS text with their messaging service, they might have a lot more loyal fans. But because they don't, there's probably a lot more people on iOS now. Yeah, I saw Casey Neistat's interview with the head of YouTube. I didn't think it was constructive or helpful at all. He basically said what YouTube always says, which is, we're trying our hardest, we're doing our best, and running YouTube is hard. It's like, okay, I get that. He didn't answer any of my questions. I went on a little rant about that on Twitter. A lot of people, I think, were in support of me. So I think most people agreed that I'm glad, we're very happy that someone from YouTube is finally talking with a YouTuber. It's taken this long. But I'm saying that the conversation they had, the talk they had, didn't help anything. It didn't produce anything. We learned nothing from it, essentially. And there's still a bunch of problems we have with the YouTube that's not being fixed, and we don't know why they're not being fixed. So I watched the whole interview, didn't learn anything from it. Lou donated and said, just saw your latest vlog. Sorry that you had a rough day. Hope you're doing better and getting some rest. Thanks for doing a live stream. Thank you. Appreciate it, Lou. Appreciate it. Yeah. How should Google perfect the Pixel 3? I'm all debating about this notch thing right now because it's rumored the Pixel 3 will have a notch. I don't know if I like that or if I think I kind of do like that. But yeah, they could do some more advanced level, how'd you say, the face unlocking features, face tracking or iris scanning kind of features And if they did a notch on the Pixel 3, I think it'd be fine. But and if they don't, it would be fine. Whatever. But I'd like them to adopt wireless charging. I'd like them to get cheaper. I think you could attract my attention if you made the Pixel 3 a bit less of a flagship phone and you made it more budget friendly, because I think that's one of Android's strongest suits. I think Samsung should make the premium Android phones, and the Pixel should just be more of a budget thing. Just making a reliable, affordable, powerful phone. I think that's what Google should do. They don't make a ton of money off of hardware. Google's mostly making their money off of ad revenue. So I think then they shouldn't charge full price, flagship prices for Android phones. They should make them really annoyingly cheap so that it's difficult to compete with them. That's what they should do. And if they could do that, I'd be impressed. Like the Nexus 6P was a fairly interesting phone. As a Pixel 2 owner, I wish I had wireless charging and a bezel-less screen. That's likely what they're working on for the next one. It'd be really funny if they added a dual camera, which they might. The Pixel team does not show any consistency with what they want phones to be, between making fun of Apple for having a headphone jack and removing it themselves, which I find extremely hypocritical. And I very easily can disrespect that just because, I'm fine with them removing the headphone jack. I just find it insane that they make fun of people for removing it and then do it themselves. It's just stupid. Apple removed it, but they were confident about it. Then they said, we know this is a controversial opinion, but we're going to do it because we believe it is right. And this is the way of the future. And they've been right. The iPhone 7 and 10 and everything's been selling really well. It hasn't shown to be effective on sales. When do you think Samsung will remove the headphone jack? When they are absolutely sure that they won't get any hate for it, I think is the primary thing. If you think about it, it's genius in a way. I find it cowardly that companies keep the headphone jack around when they know it needs to be removed, but they want the customers to be annoyed at the other companies and switch to theirs because we keep around the headphone jack, even though they're going to remove it eventually. They know it. They know that time is coming, but they're going to wait until all of the consumer bases already adapt to the new format. They already adapt to wireless charging. And once everyone adapts and everyone switches over, then they'll switch over and they won't get any of the hate for it. It's silly, and I'd say just sheepish. Well, I shouldn't say sheepish, but cowardly. But at the same time, very smart, because when you think about it, if phones don't have headphone jacks, like the iPhones don't have headphone jacks for the next 3 years, and Pixel phones don't have headphone jacks for the next 3 years, and then Samsung removes it, Unbox Therapy, MKBHD, all those people, they're not going to care. They're going to be so used to that. They're half the time using iPhones, half the time using Pixels. They're so used to not having a headphone jack that by the time Samsung does it, they're like, oh, yeah, well, that's normal. And yet because the iPhone 7 ditched it when no one else really, except Motorola and Oppo, had ditched it, then they're going to hate on it for that. When they review the iPhone 7, they're just saying, oh, it doesn't have a headphone jack. This is annoying. This is annoying. And then during that conversion process, they can always appraise Samsung and LG and OnePlus and be like, oh, you guys keep the headphone jack. We like you. But by the time all of the industry has moved on, all the consumers have moved on, by then, no one cares. By the time you remove it, no one will complain about it. Do you think any phones will include Touch ID in the display this year? I heard the Note 9 might. And I saw a leak, I think, of a, what is it called? Doji? I don't know how to pronounce it. Phone. There's some Chinese smartphone company that is working on it, but either way, I won't use it. I don't know. What is your favorite Android phone, Pixel 2 or OnePlus 5T? Pixel 2 will never be on the list for one of my favorite Android phones. It's quite near the bottom, I'd say. I'd go with either a S8, which I've used before and enjoyed, a Note 8, Essential phone, or maybe a OnePlus after those. But those I would go for first. I really like the Essential phone. They take every little gimmick and put it on their phones just to get people to buy them. I mean, that's what you do, right? You got to make exclusives, kind of like the Pixel 2 squeeze feature. Will the new AirPods support Qi wireless charging? I think it's just AirPower. I don't think it supports any Qi charger. I believe it's just It's just the one AirPower. It's Apple's new wireless charging standard, which I'm glad because Qi charging is nice, but it definitely could use some more intuitiveness to it. The fact that you have to hold the Qi charger just right to get it to work is kind of weird. Apple Watch versus AirPods, which is a better accessory to buy for my iPhone 10. Get an Apple Watch now because that's not about to be refreshed. And then later, when the AirPods get refreshed, you can refresh. Why don't you use D-brand skins? I've used them before on my iPhone 6, and I don't like how cheap it makes my phone feel. It looks nice for a while if you first get it. It's like, oh, this is a really cool skin. But they, over time, if they're in the sun, they start peeling, and then they get really dirty. And then I don't know. I just prefer the way that iPhone 10 looks on its own. Pixel 2 feels like plastic because it is plastic. Yeah. I've used D-brands in the past, but after I used the one, I was like, yeah, it's cool for like 2 days, and then you're sick of it. You're wrong. The HTC 10 was the first phone to use the squeeze feature. I didn't say the Pixel 2 was the first. I'm well aware of that. I'm just saying it's a gimmicky feature. It's something that I don't think is necessary, but it was one of the weird features. Everyone was like, a squeeze phone, but then Pixel does it, and then all the YouTubers are like, oh, yeah, this is great. I love the squeeze feature. It's weird. Have you seen the iDrop News concept for the Mac Mini with Touch Bar? Yeah, that looked interesting. It was very neat. It was very useful. I wish they would do something like that. They probably won't, but it looked kind of interesting. Why do you feel most tech YouTubers are usually Google/Android biggies? Well, because you're on YouTube, which means that people who are going online and going on YouTube to look for opinions, or they're looking for ideas for what phones to buy, they're probably not Apple people. Most Apple users are just people who don't want to do hardcore research. They just want a company that's reliable. They just want to go to a company that's like, every time I buy your product, I'm usually satisfied with it, so I'm going to keep buying iPhones. I'm used to that. People who want customization and who are mad at Apple, all those users, all those fans usually are on YouTube looking around for someone to hate the expensive one and tell you the cheap one. So that's why I think most YouTubers are mostly catering to Android, mostly catering to Google, is just because those are the people who don't want to buy iPhones. Those are the people who go on YouTube. They're like, how do I not buy an iPhone, but get something that's good? Thank you, Jonky, who says, think of that squeeze what you will, but if you use Mumble or TeamSpeak or something with a Pixel 2 XL, that squeeze is going to be one heck of a good push-to-talk key that works when screen is off. Okay, I don't use any of those, but I'm sure it has its uses. I'm sure it does. Is S8 worth it? Not right now. Just wait till the S9 comes out, and the S8 will get a lot cheaper. Do you expect Siri to get a major update anytime soon? An actual HomePod Mini wouldn't really make any sense without, I guess. No, I think Siri gets a little more hate than she deserves. There's plenty of things she's dumb about. But to be fair, I think Google Assistant gets too much praise. So does Alexa. I've used both Amazon speakers and the Google Assistant, and a lot of both of the digital assistants that everyone says is, super smart, and this is way better than Siri, have made a lot of stupid comments and a lot of unwise decisions, in my opinion. I don't think that. My point is, all digital assistants are pretty bad. I think Siri's dumb a lot of the time, but so is Google. Is my point. Siri's useful enough. She does everything I need her to. I can't think of things that Siri doesn't do that I wish she did, other than like show off features. Like I said, one probably advantage of the Google Assistant is that they have the Google search engine. So when there's something it doesn't know, it can search it online and then look for the common answer. But again, I don't use that very much. I still have my Google Home Max right over there. I still have my Google Home Minis. I still have Google, and yet I don't find myself constantly asking random questions to it. And that apparently seems to be the common defect that everyone criticizes Siri for, is that she can't answer random questions. But I use Siri to turn on lights. I use Siri to play music. I use Siri to text people, which the HomePod does, and my Google Assistant can't do. So yeah, that doesn't really bother me about Siri. I don't think she's stupid beyond use. I don't think you should not buy a HomePod because Siri's in it. I think you can still enjoy your HomePod with Siri, even if the Google Assistant is smarter. I don't think it's that much smarter. It just knows a lot of random facts. Yeah, I saw the deer Snapchat video, but I never liked Snapchat. That's why I'm really glad that they're not doing very well because don't I don't like the idea of Snapchat. I'm not a fan of temporary media. I'm not a fan of you take this picture and then get rid of it really fast, which is kind of what Marquez brought up, but I've always been saying since the beginning, like he's Android Snapchat doesn't take good pictures, and it's like doesn't matter. The picture's seen for less than 10 seconds and then it goes away, unless it's a story in which it's 24 hours and then it goes away. Nothing about Snapchat is permanent, which is likely why they don't care very much about Android camera quality on Snapchat. It doesn't make a big difference. I don't use Snapchat. I love your channel, but you're so anti-Google, it makes you sound bad. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm very anti-Google because Google makes a lot of dumb decisions that affect my personal life. As in, I think YouTube has all this potential. The idea that anyone can have a platform and the people who make the best content get to rise up and make more money and therefore invest more into their YouTube channel. And yet, Google and the people in charge of YouTube keep coming in and demonetizing family-friendly content and not explaining why, and they keep promoting people that do terrible things and not not giving punishments to people who give YouTubers a bad name. So yeah, I'm very anti-Google. They affect my life personally. So I can't say it's just business because my idea was to make family-friendly content that anyone can watch, and yet Google, YouTube keeps demonetizing, and it's like you guys are destroying all of this potential you have. Come on, like I'm trying to work within the system. I'm trying to help you guys, and you keep slapping me down and saying, no, you can't make more. No, now you need this much to make monetization work. And yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like that Google basically has a whole company built around trying to get your information. That's most of where their ad revenue comes from, is just Google searches, what you're looking for, tracking your information, getting all of your pictures so that they can do more AI research. Whereas I'm a huge fan of Apple because the premise of their company is still the most simple premise of any company, which is just make good products, sell those products. Google's not about that. Google's about tricking you into getting into a free service so that we can create an online profile of you and then start anticipating what ads you want to look at. Whereas if you're someone like me, you literally pay for YouTube Red. It's like, don't look at my stuff. Don't give me valid ads. I will give you money so that you don't show me ads. That's literally the point we get to with Google. And it's almost like a hostage situation. It's like, we're going to make ads. We're going to make the system so bad that you'll pay for us to fix it. So, and I'm fine with that. I'll pay Google all the money they want if they don't show me any ads. I'm fine with that. Yeah, I saw that Google is being sued for faulty microphones and speakers. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Snapchat. It's not about tech, but what did you think about GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas? Are you a gamer? No. If you watch Tailosive Gaming, you would know that. I never played GTA 3. I played GTA 5 though, quite often. You must hate the Super Bowl because the ads. You must hate the Super Bowl because the ads are the best. Even Super Bowl ads are pretty dumb to me, but the one I really liked was the Tide ad with David Harbour. That was just clever. It was funny and entertaining. Whereas most ads I've watched, I don't care for. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't have cable TV. No, I'm not a fan of Skyrim. I've played Skyrim though. I hate the fact that Google hates Apple, yet while advertising their apps, they use an iPhone as a model and their pictures in both iOS and Android. I think it's because a lot of the people who work at Google probably use iPhones. Not everyone wants an Android. Yeah, I watched the Casey Neistat interview. I thought it wasn't helpful. We didn't learn anything from it. I'm glad that they're reaching out to YouTubers and talking with them directly, but the fact that he didn't say anything useful was defeated the whole point of that. I can tell you're the type of person to scroll through your Snapchat feed on your Pixel 2 XL. Not at all. My God. That better have been sarcastic. I have my HomePod set up now, and I just got an Apple TV 4K on latest beta. When do you think AirPlay 2 will be out so I can have the same music all over the house? AirPlay 2 for the HomePod. Again, we have no idea. It's just later this year. There's no rumors. Software rumors and leaks are very hard to confirm, but I'm hoping as soon as possible. The Office is my favorite TV show. I love The Office. Why can't Siri say who Kim Jong-un is on HomePod? I don't know. Maybe you should just know that. Do you ever get tired of talking about Apple? Yeah, sometimes. It can get old when it's your job and you just do it nonstop. I went on a holiday to America a couple years ago and found that you guys have a serious ad problem on TVs. It's 50-50 ad to program ratio. It's awful. I don't know what it's like in other parts of the world, but I've never owned cable TV. Even when I lived at home with my parents, I did not. We never owned cable TV because in America, it could be everywhere, by the way. It's just so bad that it's not worth it. It's ridiculous. Is it possible if you want to use the HomePod without an internet connection? Probably. No, I think you need Wi-Fi. I don't think you can. I haven't thought about that. No, I think you need Wi-Fi though. Do you think that Apple will make Apple Android phone? No, they're not going to do that. I think it's funny how Apple Pro apps are around 600 separately, but 200 in an education bundle. I got that exact bundle. Like Final Cut Pro is $300 and Motion is $50 and Compressor is $50 and there's a bunch of other apps. But if you get all of those apps together, it's 200. Do they gain anything from that? It feels like they're just losing money. But yeah, that's the bundle I got. But you get paid by those ads that you don't like. Yeah, if you get like that's how this system works. It's a necessary evil. I'm not saying all ads are bad. Advertising's a good thing. It's just I don't want any part of it. And I'm glad that there are steps in place for you to pay extra to get rid of ads. What's great about YouTube is that it's free. That's the difference between cable TV, which is ridiculous because in America, it's 50-50 content and ads. Oftentimes, it feels like there's more ads than content on the cable TV I've seen. And that also costs money. YouTube, hopefully, once you got your internet, is free. That's just a website anyone can go on and you can watch endless amount of content. It's not like a watch 30 minutes and then you have to sign up. It's like anyone can go on there, even if you don't have an account. And the reason it's free is because we have those ads on it. And that helps pay for things. And of course, if you're more of a hardcore YouTuber that watches stuff all the time, ads get annoying. You can just pay $10 a month and then there's no ads and you can download videos and you can get exclusive access to things. And I think that's a really good deal. I don't recommend using ad blocker because that is stealing money from the creators and from YouTube, which is a big issue. If everyone used ad block, there would be no YouTube. So keep that in mind. If you use ad block, it means that the creators you're watching are not getting supported by you, which means the content literally you enjoy watching is having a harder time staying alive. So even if you hate ads and you don't have YouTube Red in your country, which I heard they're trying to roll out YouTube Red in more countries soon. But even if you hate the ads, just know that every time you watch that little 10-second or 15-second ad, it helps me or whatever creator you're watching do what they do. And we're very appreciative of that. Will Apple ever introduce full night mode on iOS and when? I think they'd consider smart invert night mode, but yeah, I wouldn't expect like an official version. You can just try to hope that more and more third-party apps support dark mode, like Twitter and YouTube's working on it, stuff like that. Everyone was angry at an iPhone starting point at 1,000, but nobody thinks it's bad that Red Hydrogen 1 is 1,200 to 1,600. Red Hydrogen 1 is ridiculous. I can't believe people care about that phone or people like that phone. Because they literally didn't release a video. They didn't have a keynote. They literally just teased the back of it in a low quality image, in a dark, low quality teaser image, said, here's the Red Hydrogen 1. We'll take your money now. Give us all your money, $1,200, $1,600. It has a new holographic feature. We're not going to show you how it works. We're not even going to show YouTubers how it works. We can show you the reaction to Marquez looking at it, but that's it. And what was funny was Marquez's reaction was basically like, it didn't look like, wow, it didn't. I'm sure it's a very gimmicky like Amazon Fire Phone level of holographic technology, and they're going to ask $1,200 for it, and it's still not out, and it has a Snapdragon 835, so it's ridiculous. That phone's not going to do well. Snapchat's very popular everywhere. I'm just saying it. I don't like that it's popular, and it's dying. What do you think of the new Teslas? They look really, really cool. I would get a Model 3 if I could. If money wasn't an option, I'd get a Model X. But yeah, Teslas look awesome. Favorite company aside from Apple? You should make more of the everything wrong with Apple product videos. Yeah, some people like those. They're kind of clickbaity, but yeah. Yeah, they're kind of cool. Why doesn't YouTube do what Twitch does and block the ad blockers? Well, that would rely on YouTube doing the right thing, which we know they're not known for. So, got a HomePod. What should be my first HomeKit accessory? I just installed some smart lights, which have been really, really neat, especially because you can support HomeKit on Apple Watch. Look at this. I just go over to HomeKit. I have a smart bulb. I don't recommend getting the Philips Hue bulbs. They are crazy expensive, and they require a $60 hub to get them started. So like buying a two smart bulb HomeKit enabled setup, you have to plug something into your router, and it's going to cost you like $90 to $100. I recommend, hold on. These bulbs are called Lifix, Lifx, and I just picked these up. I got 2 of them, $20. They were on sale. Maybe if you buy them on Amazon, you can get them used. They'll still work fine. They're light bulbs. You're not holding them. If they're used, it's not a big deal. Amazon makes sure that they all work. They won't sell a faulty one, and of course, you can send it back if they do. Works with HomeKit, Google Assistant, and Alexa. So no matter what digital assistant you have, get a Lifix, because these produce a pretty good amount of light. They're fairly easy to pair. And then, like, yeah, if you have an Apple Watch, we can say what light is on. So my desk lamp is on right now. And tap that, turns it off. Turn it back on. It's right off camera here. Works really well. Siri can turn these on and off. I don't know if they make smart outlets. I got a different company for my little plug. We have lighting systems all over the office that we just say, Siri, turn on this room, and then that room lights up. It's really, really cool. I really like how, do I have it? I think I threw it out. But they have this little, it's much, much easier to pair a HomeKit bulb than it is to pair like a Google Assistant partnered thing. Because usually with the Google Assistant, you have to install the bulb, download that bulb's app, pair with that app, and then add that bulb via the Google Home app. Whereas with this, they include a little pamphlet with a QR code on it. You open the Home app, you just hit Add Accessory. It looks at the QR code, and it immediately starts pairing. Works like a charm. Much, much easier to add. So that's, yeah. I could link it, but I didn't buy these online. I'd have to go find them. But just look up Lifix smart bulbs. Lifx. Do you want a few Apple boxes or iPods? I'd rather have Apple boxes if anyone's sending something to the P.O. box. Not like AirPods pairing. No, it's a bit more complicated because Apple doesn't. This is why it'd be great if Apple did make smart accessories. They could pair like AirPods. They'd probably cost a lot more, but I would love it if Apple made smart bulbs and stuff. Besides the screen size, what do you think will be improved on the next year's iPhone? Camera, processor, battery, all the standard things. It's not going to be a major refresh, but we'll still be excited. Anyway, we've made it to our hour, so thank you for all of your donations and all of your questions. I'm going to get to work back again. That's enough breaking for me on the next tech video. So thank you guys for watching. This is your Apple Shapiro, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.